Okay. Whoa.
The cool-hearted women of the year.
We don't just spoil this program today. If you guys want to give me a bit of volume, I'll feel for that. Okay. While we're just preparing things, the reason we're running a little late is both Justin and I got caught up in other things. First piece of good news, Matthew Graham has arrived. The second piece of good news, Philip Leinster has arrived. Okay. So, we don't know, obviously I think it was less than a week ago that we knew that Philip was coming to join us. So, I've got a feeling there are going to be a few people jealous of the people here this weekend because of that. World Convention exclusive. Tick that off as another one. Not these people can, you know. I can't really, our bodies all anyway. So, that's about the size of it. Coming up very shortly, so we'll be interrogating them. That's a good rehearsal, obviously for the highlights DVD, which you will be able to buy from the Cult TV shop. Oh, about 2009, something like that.
I mean, I'd like to think that I might get this one done before September. I was going to say before next year's event.
Yes, right.
Before when next year's event would be if we were doing one, which we're not.
Oh, that's a shame. We should do it. Let's hear it for another one.
If any of you work for Nationwide Building Society at very high capacity, that may be possible, but only if you can actually get them to write off about 50 grand off my mortgage. There we go. Right, we have the thumbs up, so we'll basically say this is where we'll take it for the DVD. So we want hysterical applause, please, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, making his UK convention debut, Ron Harper!
It wasn't until I heard you singing that night that I realized just how beautiful you were. It was like a metamorphosis that I was watching. And right before my eyes, you changed this shy, insecure girl that I knew so well into a glowing, irresistible woman. That child who had grown up in my house, Scott, it was that incredible woman that I made love to.
I hope this meeting's going to be worth all, Chuck. Yeah, Chuck, I hope it's going to be worth all.
He's good.
He's an artist, isn't he?
You know, I bet. The generations got to know a lot, but things have changed now. Charlie's no longer in prison. He was wounded or trying to escape. Colonel Kruger is interrogating him in the hospital in the village. How's the security in the hospital? Guards at both entrances and exits. Charlie's room's on the main floor, guarded at all times.
So how have you been in work?
How do you get in the hospital? You get sick? Get sick. I am sick. John, you're just a man I didn't want. I'm sorry, Mom. Those humans, you know who they were.
No one knows.
How did it happen?
There were two of them. They had come here asking for food, and I thought I gave it to them. We tried to be friends with them. father and they killed him.
What about you? Did you get a description of him? How tall they were, their hair, what they were wearing, anything?
No, it was dark. He saw very little. Besides, how can you tell one human from another? What I could see, they all looked alike to me.
I have the same problem.
A few little bits of nostalgia there for you.
Yes.
Bring up any memories, particularly?
Oh, there's something here?
Those you sings, it was, any of the guest stars there, anything you really think, oh gosh, that was so and so.
Well, certainly, yeah, from Roddy, he was such a wonderful gentleman. And Christopher Carey was one of my favorites, one of your people, Garth, delightful guy. We were just watching an episode yesterday. What was the title of it? There was a wealthy British aristocrat who was murdered or killed somewhere. And Christopher Carey, who played Garth, was to impersonate him, take over his role because we needed him to act as a shield to get some information from the Nazis. And, Christopher, who spoke beautifully, was playing a line, so he used an accent, of course. And one of the things was, he looked like this aristocrat who had been murdered, so we did a little bit of makeup for him. But the important thing was to train him to behave like a British aristocrat. So then a job was assigned to our person who played actor, Cesare. And the opening scene when we were educating him to be a British gentleman is to teach him how to speak properly. And Christopher, had beautiful speech. He was being tutored by Cesare de Novo, where English to him was about his third or fourth language now. It was not his native tongue. So in the sequence, Cesare, with his hard accent, was trying to teach Christopher, who spoke Queen's English perfectly, how to speak proper English by saying, "You must say motor car. You must say motor car so it sounds proper." And we were there saying, what is wrong with this picture? Christopher could speak English around it, that. So I just saw Christopher there on the scene. He's gone. Cesare's gone. Rudy's gone. Just president.
So taking you right back to the beginning when his career was in England, at what point did the bug bite you to become an actor?
That's an excellent question, Alex, because, excuse me, my voice is a little, I think I haven't adapted from the flight across the pond, as it were. I've always enjoyed acting. My mother, according to her, said that my first performance was playing the Christ Child in a church play over at the church on the Electric Heights where I was born. And I just gravitated. Every Christmas there would be a Christmas pageant at the church where the children were given little poems to recite on a piece of cardboard which we were to memorize. And I don't know what was into me, but I memorized mine and then I memorized everyone else's. In the event they went up, I would be happy to help them and tell them what they liked. So I started there. Before you know, I was doing plays in the public school, and then in high school, we would always have an annual play, junior stuff, and I always performed in those. I loved that. So when I got to college, I had a scholarship to Princeton. I said, well, to put away my childish things now, I'm getting a proper education. I'll go into a law, probably, or politics. Yeah, probably law. Exactly, a worthwhile occupation. And while I was there, I was Princeton, didn't have a theater department, but we would put on classic plays during the winter. And one summer, I was invited, we had a summer theater program called the University Plays. And I was asked to come and be a member of the troupe, which was wonderful, except as a scholarship student, I was expected to earn like $400 or $500 during the summer to supplement my income from books and things. And they didn't pay any money. So I really thought it would be, I wanted to do it because, as I said, I've always enjoyed that. I had to go and see, talk to my professor who was in charge of scholarships. And I told him the situation. I said, they've asked me to come, but they don't pay anything. And he said, well, we believe that the purpose of college education, at least here at present, is simply to help you find how to enjoy the rest of your life. So if that will help you do that, take it, go with it. It's necessary. If you need more money or any help, we'll take care of it. That was a wonderful thing.
And how did your family sort of view? Because I can imagine, there you are, you've got politics or acting.
Exactly.
And then you look and go, right, well, you're not going to make anyone from being an actor. Did you find that? Because I don't know, nowadays, I think it's very much, when somebody says they want to be an actor, I don't know, it's a more common ambition nowadays, I think, to want to act. It just seems that way. It just seems that way. Whereas, back then, wanting to be an actor was a bit really quite special. How do people view that?
Well, that's an interesting question because, we had a pretty good actor who became president. Ronald Reagan was good at it.
Oh, sorry, I think you're good.
That's right. And George, who's the dancer? Thank you, Murphy, right? Became a senator. We have a senator, next senator now, who's running to try and get the nomination for the Republican in Thompson. It's interesting because I remember years ago there was a California primary, and one of the opposition was talking to a group of children, and he was building a case for their party, saying, "Did you know that President Lincoln was killed by an actor?" I thought that was a bit unfair. So, what was the question? I forgot. I just wondered.
Well, how did your family, friends view your choice to go to acting instead of giving up some more politics where,
That's a good question.
better living?
No, I had a very supportive family, I must say. I mean, they were delighted that I got an opportunity to go to college. I was the first one in our whole family and generations to ever go to college. I came from a little town in Pennsylvania called Turtle Creek, and I had 32 cousins, none of them had ever gone to college, and so me. But my parents were wonderful, and they were so terribly supportive that they just wanted me to be happy doing whatever it was that made me happy. As far as I know, they never showed any disappointment about me going into acting. And particularly when one of my first series appeared on television, it was kind of nice. I was sort of, half-assed celebrity in Turtle Creek. So they were accepted up,
So, what was your big break? What was the part where you thought, that's it, this is the career for me, I've done the right thing? What was the point where you thought, I'm going to be able to do this the rest of my days?
I was just thinking about that, Alex, because when I was at Princeton in my junior year, it's when you decided on a major for your graduation. And of course I was thinking of politics or history or something, but mostly American politics. And as I said, when I was invited to come to the summer theater called the University Plays, I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. Let me see how well I do with it. And Princeton was only less than an hour's ride from New York. So we had various people from New York come to see some of our productions, casting people, directors, writers, Tennessee Williams. And it was wonderful training because we did a play a week. We would rehearse one play during the day and perform one at night, which I thought was rather standard until I got out of there and then found out that some people rehearse plays for a month before they did it. Like, God, look at the time they waste together. We would do one and rehearse one, do one, and we did Shakespeare, which I love. So, it was like this. It was about my junior, at the end of my junior year, I was offered a fellowship to Harper Law School, which I thought I was going to train in. And I thought, well, let me see. We're going to do a big senior play. If I do well in that, then I would make up my mind whether to go on to Harvard Law or go to New York and study. So they were going to do Henry IV, Part 1, which is one of my favorite plays. So I figured I would either do Prince Hal or Hotspur and see if I did a good job with that. Well, there was a faction in our organization that decided to do Hamlet instead of Henry IV, which I didn't totally agree with because that's such a mostly a one-character play. And this one actor who was the president of our organization wanted to do it because he wanted to play Hamlet. And we had a director who said he wasn't any good. Dad sells it, so he should do it. Nicholson. So he decided to do it. He went for about a week or two, and the organization thought he wasn't any good either. So by this time, they thought, let's not do either one. And I said to myself, this is ridiculous. I can't base my whole life and career on one part, on whether the play gets done or not, you know? So I thought about it hard and I said, oh, well, what the hell? Obviously, this is something that I have enjoyed doing more than anything else that I've ever done. So I turned down this fellowship and I went to New York and I studied with Lee Strasberg for two years until I got drafted into the Navy, and 2 more years when I came out.
Resentment about being drafted, was that something that you thought, oh, how this is punctuated my career in the way I don't want?
Yeah, I must say, Alex, you asked the most pertinent question. It was a very important move because I had done my first Broadway play, Poetry in a Rosebud, and I was just out of college, less than a year, and this was a Broadway play coming up. And I got the draft notice. But I did the play, but it was a big conflict on whether I should. I'd already done the play, and I think it wasn't doing well, but I was working at night running IBM machine. And if I went into the service, they would pay my regular salary. But on the other hand, I would lose 2 years of my theatrical experience. And I had friends there saying, don't go, don't take it. I mean, you'll be totally forgotten within a year if you don't do it. And I saw some actors who did it. They faked their qualification. And I couldn't do that. I said, Christ, I've got to live with that for the rest of my life. I didn't do it. So I said, no, I'll take my chances. So I went into the Navy. And fortunately, how ironic how fate works. I went to the Naval Training Center at Great Lakes, and my company was shipped out, and I was still there. They'd never really been, number one, they hadn't drafted anybody into the Navy since the War of 1812, which I think was you people were involved with. Yeah. I don't know who won. So, what was I saying? Oh, so they had never handled the quality. What do you do when I'm an actor? I've studied, I can direct or write a play. And Jesus, what are we going to do with him? They didn't have anything like that. And then finally, I got a call to go to report to Panama to work in a television station as a director, actor, writer, producer, and I did all the plays I ever wanted to do in Panama for 2 years. It was a wonderful opportunity.
So it wasn't quite the break away from
No, it wasn't.
what you thought it might be.
Exactly. I mean, it was, for me, it was wonderful because all I did was, instead of being on an icebreaker for 2 years in the Antarctic, I was in Panama in a television station and working in the theater and doing, again, all the plays that I ever wanted to do. starting all over again, which was fine. Live television was in vogue then, so I would be doing Studio One, craft television there. That's when we did it live, which I thought was very exciting because you had to be able to think on your feet. If something went wrong, they couldn't say, cut, let's edit that, and it was going straight out.
I mean, that's the thing about doing live. It's literally much like conventional theatre.
Exactly.
You've got a net.
Yeah.
But was there ever a thought when you do live TV like that, that you're not dealing with audiences of a few hundred watching you, but you're dealing with audiences of a few million out there in TV land watching what you're doing? Does it on the stage?
It never really entered my mind. They would set up at that time like with 3, maybe 6 cameras, and you would be acting not for a theater audience, but it never occurred to me what medium I'm doing. Acting to me is really consistent, whether it's going to be photographed or whether it's going to be seen by an audience or heard on the radio. That's basically the same thing. I remember I was doing a movie, an actor said, it was an independent film, and they weren't paying us very much money, so he said he didn't give it their full value performance. I said, really? He said, no, they don't pay me enough for that. I do it. I said, how do you do the mediocre acting? This is my cut rate acting. Seems to me it's only one thing, whatever the price is.
Just as half as long.
I get it. I was doing a silk concert, it was live, and we were long, so he said to shorten it, cut every other line. So let me think about that. So I'll say one line, I say that, and I forget that. That doesn't make any sense at all. Cut a speech, cut something. Can you imagine?
Now, moving on to sort of the television series work
Yes.
that you did, one name that stuck out amongst the credits of the show that you did. We're talking about When You Knew Me and working with George Burns. Now, something of a comedy legend, so what was it like actually working with George and that sort of stuff?
You threw my girlfriend laugh.
I'm open to
George, you had to, get to know George to understand it. And I don't understand. It was you had to adjust to acting with him. That I've done 6 series, and that was a wonderful series. It was wonderfully written with good actors, with Connie particularly, and Jim. And
That's Connie Stevens.
Connie Stevens and Jim Caramelli,
Yeah.
Jim's the other one. But it was difficult for me because we had one director, and it wasn't totally his fault. He had been told by the producers, who was George, not to let the actors get away from it. It was particularly hard for me because, as I said, when I studied acting, and I loved acting, and I particularly loved creating. I honestly loved the creating. I enjoyed rehearsing and finding new things that much more than performing. And you have to learn how to keep it fresh if you're doing a long run play on stage. But I really enjoyed finding out, experimenting with how to do it. And I've had some good luck with some of the series, but not with this one. We had a tough, the director working under the auspices of the production office, whose motto was, don't let the actors get away from it. And when George said to me, I'll get the last kid, you just persuade people you know how to fly a plane. I had a lot of little funny ideas in that were hard to get through. That's all, it was okay. I mean, I learned to adjust to it with that. But I just did a little exercise yesterday. I don't know if you heard about it, on some of the techniques that I learned in studying astronomy in New York. And I said, well, I picked a couple of people from the audience, and I think Debbie was one of them. And we did a scene from a bus stop, where my William is. And I said, this is where we would usually break down the scene. I said, we'll read the scene once with the author's words and his intention in the scene. Then we will read the scene with the author's words about our present situation, like who we are today in this situation, no matter what the situation is in the play. And the third time we'll go through it using our own words to describe and illustrate the author's scene in the illustration. Then the fourth time we'll go through the scene and see if we can do it without any words at all, just whatever else we can create and think. And you'll find that in each step of that, you will probably find something new, or more than a couple of things that are new, that you have just discovered. And at the end, you put these all together and do a final scene, and you will have a packed scene that is so rich, full with color, that you never would have had if you just memorized the lines and said them back and forth.
I think we've sort of gone into a cul-de-sac.
There we are.
Yeah, we're stopped somewhere there.
Sorry, I'm always fascinated by sort of acting techniques, especially. But do you find, you get these techniques and you learn these techniques, and then do you find some that work for you, and then you experiment with others and you kind of, that doesn't work for me, that does work for me, and then have you spent your time honing those, or are you always open to experiment constantly? Do you see what I mean? Or are you worried that you're going to experiment too much, that you're not actually able to do the job that you're actually trying to do?
No, Justin, that has never been a worry for me. And I had to learn this, but I was particularly studying with Strasbourg on how to act, which, Strasbourg would say, acting is reacting to imaginary stimuli, and you take it from moment to moment to moment. When I was totally inexperienced, I used to memorize I used to memorize my play, the whole part, before we started rehearsing, before the first day. But what I found out was that's really totally wrong. It is very destructive and inhibiting, because the truth is it's impossible to memorize a line without some thought or some feeling. So that when you do get into a scene with other actors and you are recreating moment to moment, it makes it doubly difficult because you have to forget what was behind your mind when you memorized the line in order to react honestly with the moment that is occurring here and now. So I learned, to have courage enough to, I would hold the book. I say, don't worry about it, I can memorize the lines right now, but it's not constructive. I hold the book because I want to go listen to you, see what it does, say the line, listen, think, and there'll be no problem. And by the end, after I've worked that out and discovered everything that I could at least, if I hadn't been learned all the lines by then, and I probably had, as much as I try not to, I could just polish them up like that and go on with it.
Just to sort of follow on to that and moving on to the Planet of the Apes, obviously to see the person you're acting with, to see their face and the way they're reacting can make a difference to the way you react as well. Obviously in Planet of the Apes,
Oh, absolutely.
they're wearing masks. I think, do you feel that you have to do a lot of that? I mean, how much rehearsal time do you get?
What was the last part?
How much rehearsal time did you get? I mean, when you rehearse, do you do it without, they're doing without the masks, so you've got a chance, but it's not really that much of a chance, is it?
No, but just in general, how long do we have now? Am I talking too much?
We've got about 10 minutes. About 10 minutes. 10 or 12 minutes.
What I just said, just in talking about, let me hold the book and I discover moment to moment what is in the scene, and I'll tell you, it'll be a lot richer than if I memorize it until you're blocking. Then I came out to Hollywood for my stage experience, and it was totally different. I remember the first day I went on the set to shoot the TV show Shotgun Slate or something, and I figured, all right, we're going to rehearse and get this all out and discover what it's all about. And they said, no, we're going to shoot it. I said, what? Shoot it? Yeah, we're going to shoot the scene where at the end we get killed. Do you mind if I go to Ben's room? Because I had to go memorize the goddamn lines. I thought we were going to rehearse like New York. No one told me that you had to be cold, ready to go, the cameras are on, and we're shooting. So it's quite different. Yeah, and it is, and rehearse, no. I don't know of anybody who, very few, maybe, hardly anybody that I know rehearses with a television series. You don't have the time. If you can get an hour episode like Garrison or that time in 7 days, you're lucky. And that's working 14, 16 hours a day, right on. No time to burn. As far as working with the apes with masks, yeah, it was harder. I know poor Ronnie, God bless him, it would try to help the actors by saying, but we were just looking at that girl talking today, hardly moved her mouth. With those appliances, particularly the nose and in the mouth, it's so hard, you have to exaggerate your mouth, or it looks like, it's like, oh my God, this is really something going on. You think you're acting like hell, and nobody can see what's happening. So he had to show them how you, exaggerate your eyes, and your nose, and your mouth, and get it going, or otherwise it looks like a mask is talking at you. A lot of the scenes were that anyway, to tell you the truth, so I did have to use my imagination sometimes with what was going on.
Planet of the Apes is an interesting case because it came on the back of 5 big screen movies. I mean, was there any fear that turning it into a television series might be one part of the franchise too much? Did you have a fear that perhaps it was already sort of past its sell-by date already when you got it?
Alex, really not at all, but that's really what happened. No, they shot that without a pilot. It's the only series that I have done that didn't have a pilot, including Garrison, which was a wonderful series. We shot that as an episode of combat. There was one scene with the combat troops, and my gorilla and I parachuted in. They said, goodbye, good luck on your mission. If we hadn't sold it as a series, it would be a pilot, it would be an episode.
Yeah.
But they did sell it, so they reshot that scene with new actors, and it became the first of our. But with Planet of the Apes, there was no pilot because the 5 movies had made like $1 billion together. No pilot, it went right on because it was considered a surefire success. I think it was my 4th series, that finally you're going to have a 5-year run on this thing, and what they forgot to do was write interesting stories. I mean, it was like after a couple of weeks, there was one of us got captured by the apes and the other 2 rescued. It was like, whose turn is it again? And the stories were, it was science fiction, so use your imagination. You can go anywhere, and people can't question it because it's not a reality thing. So, no, we thought it was going to be easy, 5-year series, and then we found out you got to look a little harder. They have seen this story too many times before. We said, come on, let's do a little bit more.
I mean, talking of shows that, and the formats that you came into, sort of, while they were already developed, if you like, that moved us on to Land of the Lost. Now, you actually joined that in the 3rd season.
Yes.
So, were you aware of the programme before you took the role? So it was just like you had no knowledge of what had previously happened?
No, I saw a couple of episodes before that, but and it was after, Planet of the Apes. And I'll tell you, I enjoyed that tremendously. And it had this very important difference in that the stories were much more interesting. I mean, we did the Medusa, we did the Flying Dutchman, we did these golden myths that we took and adapted from story. Much more imaginative than one of us getting captured by the apes and the others. Maybe that's why I had the longevity.
Now, the series we just touched upon but is celebrating its 40th anniversary.
Uh,
And of course, happens to have what I would describe as a small, unique, and very conscientious fandom is Garrison's Gorillas. And it's great that we've got people who have come from all over the world to celebrate the series, media, etc., etc. Were you conscious at the time that you were doing Garrison that there was something special about it? Or was it the case that this was just another show? Was there any... I mean, if I was to say to you in 1967, in 40 years' time, you're going to be on stage in the middle of England talking about this show, what do you think your character of 40 years ago, you in 1967 would have said to me saying that?
I'd say, well, if there was an organization that had a wonderful 4-day weekend somewhere run by a masterful, superb matron, after ceremony, I'd say it was more than likely that we would be invited there and enjoy it. You know, I have a lot of my friends here from Debbie and Sarah came from Australia, and I think there are a friend. The whole group of them from all of it is my favorite series, there's no doubt. And again, the stories were so good. Good acting, good stories, good directors. It didn't surprise me. It surprised me that we went off the air in a year. You know what happened? We had a great rating. We had like a 34 share, which is a tremendous share for an audience. And apparently at the time, the American Congress said there's too much violence on television. And that there, Garrison Grill is the worst one. They keep shooting people every week. And we tried to tell them it was a war series, but it didn't seem to matter to them. But then, it was such a shame. It was a good series.
Well, we've got a...
I was just going to say, do you think it would have, it still would have had the fan base if it had gone on longer? Is it that it was just because it was one series, does that make it more special? Does that make it more special to you?
That's good. No, I don't think so. I think we'd have even a bigger fan base if it had done Combat, you know, which preceded us. And I told you we was... Combat went on 5 years, which was longer than the actual war. You know? And there was a devout following to them that I'm sure would have happened exactly to us. I'm very delighted that we are still so well remembered within our Garrison's website with just that one year's episode. Maybe we can show them. You want to show them?
I think I've got one more thing. It's probably one of the things we've got about 5 minutes to answer some questions.
Okay.
Well, we've got one first one.
Yeah, we've got
Where is it on the session?
I think what we'll probably do with the session tomorrow is we might start with audience questions. So if we don't get through the one today, you can come back tomorrow and we can get some more audience questions.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got about 5 minutes. So if anybody's got a question, put your hand up and then we'll shout you out and you can press your button. So if you press your button there in the front there, and hopefully at the top you'll be able to make your microphone live. There we go. So you might have that, and then it should go red. Press your button.
Yep.
Oh, we've got one somewhere. We've got one over there. Look, obviously you. All right. There we are. Over there.
In tomorrow's Tide, with the fake-looking shark in Planet of the Apes, how cold was the water and how difficult was that particular episode to shoot?
I'm sorry, you said something about sharks?
In
tomorrow's Tide.
Oh, from Planet of the Apes?
yeah,
Oh, that was interesting. We shot that off Catalina Island, you know, California. And it was very cold. And we were shooting in about 30 or 40 feet of water. And it didn't seem like in the beginning. It was quite challenging because what they would do in order to shoot it was they had me weighted down with about 40 pounds of weight in that funny little outfit that I wore. And they would take me down with an aqualung, with a mask and an aqualung, to get me down about 30 feet with some rocks, seaweed. And I would grab a hold of the rock and the seaweed. Then they would bring down the camera. And the cameraman, a couple of prop men, a couple of stuntmen, and get everybody in position. It would wind up this terrible phony shark under the battery or something. And they would release the shark and they'd say, and then they'd think, okay. Then they would yank off my mask and take off my aqua lung and say, "Don't do a little acting, you know, swim around and take it down." And they did all that because you would save so much air than if I had to dive down 30 feet and then get set and then act, and I'd only act for about a second, you know. So that would save the time to take me down, go down, and take it off and let me act for about a minute, and then that would bring me up. So we did that all day, Jim, you know, Norton and I. And I remember, it's a good question, because it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something, and we were suddenly shivering, you know, uncontrollably. And the reason I remember is they gave us shots of liquor to, you know, to warm us up, which I understand later is like one of the worst things to do for hypothermia, right? It's terrible. But we were there shivering, man. You know, I think we'd already been diving for about 6 or 7 hours, so that was all. They had, it's all from the thing that should think, because we were shivering and falling apart, and they just kept us warm, gave us enough liquor to get us out back to land.
I think we've got time for one more, just one more question. So, is there a hand?
Anything for
Preferably attached to a question. Over here, press your button. Hopefully the red light will come on and far away.
One series we haven't mentioned is 87th Precinct.
Yeah.
Could you, which I thought was an excellent programme, could you tell us how you won the role in that? What your opinion of your fellow cast members was, and why it only lasted a single season?
I didn't hear the end of that sentence.
Well, I asked you, first of all, how you won the role in 87th Precinct. Secondly, what you thought of your fellow cast members, and finally, why did it only last a season?
Why last of a season? I've had such bad luck with good series. Was our producer. To answer the last part of your question first, we had a very well-known producer whose name I'll think of maybe in a minute. Well-respected producer, and we did a wonderful series of Henry Bain books. You know, Henry Bain was a mystery writer who wrote, he wrote 26 novels that we adapted, all they're excellent scripts. We adapted into one of our dramas. And I'm trying to think of his name. Anyway, again, we had another series with a good rating, and the producer jumped the network. He went to an ABC network, and NBC was so pissed off they canceled the show because they were losing him, and they were angry that he would have the audacity to change his allegiance to another network, and they canceled the show. How did I get it? I tested for it. Well, I did come out from New York, where I'd been doing some later. I was doing one called Sweet Bird of Youth, which was a Tennessee Williams play, directed by Amy Kazan, one of our best directors, and Paul Newman was in it. I had a small part and understudied Paul Newman. And they saw some of the producers, Tony James and some Ellen Kilgallen from MCA, Universal, saw me in New York, and after a lot of negotiating, he brought me out to Universal. That's a whole long story, because Paul Newman, God bless him, is a nice guy. I had to go to him like once a week to say, now they're offering me 7 or 5 years, what should I do? He was very helpful. But anyway, it finally ended up where we found a contract where they could bring me out. I think we got it down to a 3-year contract, and they could offer me 1, 2, or 3 pilots for a series, which I could either accept or turn down. If I turned down all 3, they could force me to take the 4th one. Well, the first one they offered me was 87 Precinct. I had never read a mystery, let alone an excellent one by Henry Bain. And I said, this is wonderful. I didn't know mystery stories were this good. And they're really not, except Rick Bain is writing. And this wonderful character, you know, Detective Third Class Bird playing. It sounded like me right from the get-go. It seemed exactly like me. So I think we did a test, a little screen test, and went right into production. Did I answer that?
Your fellow cast members?
Oh, they were wonderful. You know, Robert Lansing played detective, the main lead, Steve Carell. And Norman Fell, who was a wonderful actor, also very funny, good comedic actor. And Gregory Walcott were the four basic ones. Jenna Rollins was in it as playing the deputy's wife of Bob Lansing. Excellent actors, and we shot it at Universal in Backlot. I remember they didn't have Universal has a big theme park, Universal City, with rides and stuff and cheers. They didn't have it then. They just had tour buses come on, and when we were shooting, they told the head of the studio said, you know, when the buses stop, get off, entertain, and go and say hello, shake their hands. And I guess then Lou Wasserman said, man, we'll make some money. Let's turn this into a theme park. Now it's one of the biggest theme parks in the world, I guess, Universal City.
Anyway, Hopper's Business, which there's nothing so masochistic, but there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, the appreciation, and he'll be back tomorrow, Ron Harper.
Here, okay.
Pretty rainforest, isn't it?
Would have mentioned your name, I know Rachel wrote me that somebody was here. I guess it was you, yeah. That was sweet of you. I love Rachel.
Actually, I think I might be able to sit over there.